Hello, this is Gavin Palmer with Hero Looking for Group, Hero LFG LLC, always learning. I created a video last week, and it was a recording of ideas I received. It was the original rough draft, which I then used to write notes and create a blog post that you are looking at now, called Vampires and Zombies. And this post is about the inner jihad, or the spiritual war within, which we have to fight in. That's our battle that we're called to fight in. And as we get better at fighting that battle, we will be better at fighting the outer jihad, the greater jihad, the spiritual war abroad. And this post isn't perfect. I read through it today and noticed things that could be improved. But I received feedback from two people. And I really appreciate the feedback because doing error correction on your own is very difficult. And when people provide feedback, or I should say, the two people who provided feedback, I see them as friends, and I define friends as people who want what's best for you. And I appreciate these two people more than I appreciate, Jordan Peterson, for example, more than I appreciate, any leader, any popular figure, because I appreciate feedback, because it helps me to transform into a better person, to fight the inner jihad, to do the error correction. And those two people are Grim Grizz and Jacob Facciarecci. And so I just want to say thank you for your feedback. I really do appreciate it. And I do think you guys are friends who want what's best for me. That's what I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And when you give me your attention and provide the feedback, to me, I see that ultimately as expressions of love. And I recognize it and I appreciate it. And that's how you can really accelerate this, the progress in the spiritual war that happens in each person and throughout the world. And so Grim Grizz's feedback was I would say, there was a pointing out a typo, which was appreciated. And then there was a pointing at the sentence where he expressed skepticism about people's ability to always honestly appreciate feedback. And I understand. I think this is something I've trained myself to do, so that even when someone curses me, I appreciate that feedback because I am not a mind reader, and if they had ignored me, that would be worse. So that is how I can always honestly respond to someone's feedback and say, I appreciate your feedback. I think Grim Grizz also pointed out a concern about valuing feedback inappropriately, or even a perception about how much the feedback is appreciated. So obviously someone who curses me, if they just say curse words and do not provide reasons and explanations, then I am not going to value that feedback as much as someone who attempts to explain why they want to curse me. And then I would appreciate the feedback of someone who allows me to question the feedback in order to truly understand it. I would appreciate that feedback even more, because my interpretation of the feedback is, as I receive it, is probably not complete. And so there would need to be some kind of dialogue so that I know that I understand the feedback. And so that would be appreciated even more. And then the feedback which helps me to transform into a better person would be appreciated more than any other kind of feedback. And so I've trained myself to appreciate criticism, which is strange because I think we all tend to have bias and we tend to shy away from criticism and we tend to assume that other people are like ourselves. And so we do not, by our nature, um, seek criticism and provide criticism to others. And so this is a problem in this spiritual war. And so thank you, Grim Grizz, for your feedback. I appreciate it. And so then Jacob Pacharecci, he gave me feedback to be careful not to become an ideologue. Be careful about ideologies, because when I say something like we should not seek power and we should not seek attention, that on its own is not a good sentence. If there is no nuance, if there is no exception. Jacob pointed this out. He referenced a sign that he likes to remember and recall and share, that he read about a sign that said, "There is an exception to every rule, including this one." So I think that was good feedback, because I think the vampirism and the attention seeking can be explained even more and with more nuance. And so my recommendation is, or my practice, I should say, is that I attempt to identify people who deserve more attention, and I attempt to give them attention, my attention and others. That's one practice, to increase attention, to figure out who deserves more attention and attempt to increase attention on that person. To be even better, it would be nice to be able to direct people's attention to the right people and ideas, to connect them, to attempt to create a bridge between people, such that when those people become connected, it is of benefit to those people. So it's not just about me attempting to point everyone toward Grimgriz and Jacob. It's about me attempting to know that connecting someone with someone like Grimgriz or Jacob would be good for that person, because honestly, it might not always be the right fit. So that would be an attempt to properly give attention to people, right? It's just because I think someone deserves attention doesn't mean they deserve everyone's attention. And then it's not inherently wrong to seek attention. But, Jacob taught me about, the verse which says, "Do not suffer a witch to live." I would say, do not suffer a vampire to live. I'm not saying that's true, but I'm saying we should consider that we should avoid, deriving our sustenance from attention seeking, and we should avoid giving sustenance to those who depend on attention for their survival. So that's something to consider. But I would say my practice is that I try to find people who appear to be doing good work, and I attempt to have them give their attention to me as someone who is willing to volunteer and help. And then, so I am attention seeking when I do that, but I'm doing it because I want to help. So that the reason behind the attention seeking is important. And I don't need their attention, and I think that is important. And what you may find is that there are people who are wolves in sheep's clothing. So they will disguise themselves as a nonprofit or someone who wants to help the world, but when you attempt to get their attention, perhaps, like myself, I'm not good at getting people's attention, or they actually are not interested in doing what they claim to do because they are actually vampires. Um, there are these nonprofits who are totally dependent upon attention seeking, and they're more focused on attention seeking than they are on solving the problem that they claim to be solving. So, and as I say that, I know that I have to be careful about that too. Um, so I seek attention to help, and I want to make sure that the problems that I claim to be trying to solve, that those are actually more important than the attention seeking. So I do appreciate the feedback. Um, I do think there are rules where there are no exceptions, but um, this topic about vampires and zombies, I'm definitely this is not a dogma or an ideology which I want people to accept as truth. But I ultimately just want to say thank you to Grimgriz and Jacob for um, being friends, as I defined them. Um, People who want what's best for others, and people who express love, that loving energy. Um, so that's it. Hope y'all have a good one.